As we are closing off 2023, we cannot end it without talking about the best moments in women's wrestling for this year. Stay tuned.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hello and welcome back to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. I am Candice, aka the Ladies Wrestling Griot, and I am really excited to be back because 2 weeks ago we talked about some of the best women's matches of the year, but we can't end there. We have to talk about some of the moments that were not always inside of the squared circle. You know, some of those jaw-dropping moments that had us on the edge of our seats. Some that were awe-inspiring, shocking, comical, and even heartwarming moments that we just simply can't forget. Now, this list, of course, is not in any particular order. You know, that's also to save me the trouble of, people jumping down my throats because of the number in which certain events could be listed. So I decided to just leave it as me listing a few moments that I am pretty sure that all of us have enjoyed during this year. So why not just hop right into it? I'm happy to see some people coming in to this live show. Let's just dive into some of the best moments this year for women in wrestling. And we're going to start off big. We might as well just go into it head first and talk about Mercedes Moné debuting the New Japan Pro Wrestling. And this was one of the first moments that popped into my head when I was thinking about what really was a moment that really had all of the wrestling world talking, and this was certainly one. The wrestling world was shook when Sasha Banks abruptly left WWE. For months, we were speculating where Mercedes would go and if she would step foot in a wrestling ring again. Then we see a newly rebranded character, Mercedes Moné, appear after Kairi's title defense at this year's Wrestling Kingdom. The gear, the hair, the swag was all on point during her debut, and definitely a start to Mercedes showing that she was beginning a new stage in her wrestling career and having the wrestling world as her oyster. We've seen the sheer joy that Mercedes has had in having these dream matches that have probably been on her mind for years, especially with how much we've seen women's divisions really grow outside of WWE. I'm pretty sure it just felt like she was a kid in a candy store being able to have all these great matches around the world. And we don't know where Mercedes will go next with her comeback looming, but we do know that this was a debut that was a pivotal moment in her career and an important moment in women's wrestling this year. So I had to make sure that I came strong, okay, at the beginning of this list to make you feel that we're going to bring up some great moments. And I just loved everything about this debut. Yes, we can have debates about how really executed some things were in her debut, but I love that it was showing that she was getting her feet wet with really trying to target that Joshi audience, and I think she did an amazing job of that. And certainly once she started getting back in the ring again in 2023, she shut all the naysayers up about how this run was going to be outside of WWE. So truly a great beginning to this new stage that Mercedes is in. I did like the Mercedes Moné debut in New Japan in 2023, and I'd like to see her wrestle again in New Japan. I completely agree. I'm excited for the many different avenues in which Mercedes can go in, but I feel like we just got a taste of what Mercedes can do in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I'm really hoping that that door can still stay open. And even if some people might be right that Mercedes might go back to WWE, I would love to see the option, especially with WWE always having a friendly relationship, it seems, with New Japan, that she can possibly continue on with doing something with New Japan. But we'll see what's to come. But I agree, I really enjoyed seeing her in New Japan. So hopefully we might see something still go on in this new year. So now we're going to move on to one of the next best moments of 2023 for women in wrestling, and that is Jade Cargill debuting in WWE. I was going to leave this to the end, but this was just so good I had to get right into it. Fans started to speculate that Jade Cargill would be leaving AEW after her TBS championship match against Chris Statlander. So when the news came from WWE that Jade, in fact, had signed a multi-year deal with them, we all went nuts. Speculation of when she would appear on TV began. Then WWE released a video of Jade walking into the Performance Center, and we knew at that point that business was about to pick up. So we get to the Fastlane pay-per-view, and we see a black car pull up. And who comes out? None other than Miss Jade Cargill, looking like $1,000,000. And already before she stepped into a WWE ring, she was getting a huge response from the live audience, which was just so surreal. And then social media went wild, talking about her outfit, how unbelievable it was to see her interact with Triple H backstage, and who they wanted to see her face off with. This debut created a feeding frenzy on social media. Then Jade commenced to go on a WWE tour, making appearances in NXT, SmackDown, and Raw after that. Whenever Jade makes her in-ring debut, you already know that she's going to make a big splash. And I have to be bold in saying that this debut was probably, outside of CM Punk's return to WWE, one of the most shocking and talked about moments in wrestling over this past year, and certainly one that still lends itself to people really wanting to become, a fantasy booker and think about who Jade will face next. It's a very exciting time, and I really think that, just like everyone continues to think Jade is big money for wrestling, for WWE, with all these great ideas and moments that have been coming out of WWE, she seems like she's going to fit in perfectly. And most importantly, she wants to be there for the right reasons and come in the right way. We're really wanting to go on the learning tree at the Performance Center and really honing in on becoming a phenomenal wrestler. So I think it's safe to say that everyone's rooting for Jade to have an amazing in-ring debut. They already started off well with really introducing her to a WWE audience and kind of like testing the waters to see how the WWE universe was going to respond to her. And now they know. And I just have to go to this image too, because this was just so surreal. I don't know what other word to use with seeing Jade's name appear on the WWE screen was really out of this world. And to just see how comfortable she was with interacting with Triple H, and then obviously later on Shawn Michaels when she went to NXT, having a face-to-face with Charlotte Flair on SmackDown and Becky Lynch on Raw. It's just, these are good times, for wrestling. And this was just really exciting. And I am interested to see who could be Jade Cargill's first opponent in WWE. I feel like for another big moment for Jade, but also to kind of break her into facing off with a lot of women in WWE, I think it would be probably best if they want to have another moment come up soon for Jade to be on WWE screen, to have her in the Royal Rumble. Even if it's just to do a quick spot because one, it would just obviously be a huge moment that would just gain a huge pop, but it can give her a moment to kind of feel herself in the WWE ring and interacting with these very talented women that would be a part of the Rumble too. But it wouldn't be the pressure for her to really have to pull on this, 5-star match as she's still getting her feet wet with training in WWE. So I personally think the Royal Rumble would be the best time to have Jade really get acquainted with being in front of a WWE audience in ring. So I'm hoping that that will be when we see Jade for the first time in ring action. But of course, this is me just playing Booker here, but this is definitely one of the top moments in wrestling, in my opinion. I really think anyone would disagree with that, with the reception that Jade has got, and across the board, the amazing things that people have said about Jade in general, but especially coming to WWE, especially at this amazing time in WWE. So let's move on to the next moment, shall we? We have to talk about. We can't let this year go by. I've already brought up in the best matches of 2023 for women, the 6 women's match that we had at the 1000th episode of Impact Night 2. But we had to rewind it a bit and go to the opening segment that the Knockouts had for the first night of the 1000th episode of Impact, because I'm just going to put it out there in the future. If any other promotions want to do an anniversary show, they need to take pointers from Impact, soon to be again TNA, because every time they have a big time show or reunion, they deliver. Fans of the Knockouts division, both old and new, were given a treat when they were graced with a 20-minute segment of Knockouts from past and present. And it was capped off with the announcement of a 6 women's tag match on the next episode. So let's break down this phenomenal moment in history. We have Gail Kim and Scott D'Amore who are in the ring, and they are really just showing an amazing video package that gets us in our feelings, that takes us down memory lane and really recaptures some of the best moments of the Knockouts division, Impact's weekly show up until that point. After that highlight reel, we see Gail Kim get a chance to be mentioned as one of the biggest reasons why the Knockouts division has been able to thrive, which she definitely deserves. As Gail Kim is accepting this honor and thanking the other Knockouts, none other than the beautiful people come out and completely changes the mood. The pop that Angelina Love and Velvet Sky received was huge and a great moment in this segment. Angelina makes it clear that she does not appreciate all of the ugly people that were featured in this video package, and it really just took me back to 2008 again. Just brilliant heels. Giselle Shaw comes out and cites the beautiful people as a source of inspiration for her gimmick, which is cool. But Giselle just couldn't leave it there. She had to throw shade and say that she has surpassed what the beautiful people have done in Impact. And it was just typical Giselle Shaw and just perfect seeing this interaction between the beautiful people and Giselle Shaw. Right then at that moment, Jordynne Grace comes out and puts some respect on the names of former Knockouts like ODB, Tracy Brooks, and Tara. Then after that, Deonna Purrazzo comes out and declared that she represented the Virtuoso era, and what an era that was for the Knockouts division. And I love that they let Deonna get that moment, because she's still, in my opinion, at her peak. But at the time when she's holding the Impact Women's title and the Reina de Reinas title, that was just such a great time. And that 2021 22 time with Deanna was just killing it. So I like that Deanna had that moment. And she definitely deserved to be a part of this fantastic segment. So Deanna is gloating about her championship record, and she tells Jordan Grace to not speak to her until she has that same type of record. And right at that moment, our neon queen Trinity comes out, and it is perfect timing because Trinity had recently beat Perazzo and made her tap. So you know that Trinity was ready to rub that in a little bit just by her mere presence. And Trinity comes out and makes it clear that she is so happy to be a part of this moment with her fellow knockouts, but to remember that she is on top of the food chain in the division. And Gail Kim takes a dig at Deonna Purrazzo's championship record that has the fans going crazy. But we don't have a second to recover because at that moment, we see Awesome Kong come out. And when you hear that first thump of her entrance music, we hear the crowd let out a collective whoa. And it just goes to prove how much of a presence Awesome Kong is. Kong was also accompanied by Raisha Saeed, and that got me so excited because I've always thought that Raisha Saeed was such an underrated manager, not by Impact doing that, of course, but because there's been a length of time that Raisha Saeed has been off of Impact. Many times I think that package that you got with Awesome Kong also included the brilliance of having Raisha Saeed alongside of her. So it was nice to see that she could be a part of that. And as Awesome Kong comes out, the women in the ring are shook. And who comes out after that? The Boricua badass Tasha Steelz makes her return to Impact, and she brought that flavor. Dancing and strutting to the ring, Tasha makes it clear that she is the greatest that beat the greatest, and that she wants to become the greatest that beat the biggest. And immediately she makes a beeline for Awesome Kong. And Kong looks at Tasha like she can just easily fling her. And right at that moment, we hear hardcore country, and Mickie James makes her way to the ring. The crowd goes nuts for Mickie, as they should. And she obviously is excited to make this comeback on such a big night. And Mickie makes it clear that she will be one of the members of the babyface team for the 6-woman women's tag for night 2 of the 1000th episode of Impact. And this opening segment has so much star power, twists and turns, dream interactions, and showcase the mass appeal that the knockouts have, and past and present, because everyone received these huge pops. It was not a dull moment in this segment, and that just goes to show how beloved all of the women are from the fans. And this is not just one of my favorite moments of 2023. This is one of my favorite segments from the knockouts ever. And I think just in Impact's history in general, that's how strong and well produced I feel that this segment was. And it will always be one of my go-to moments when I just want to go back and think about how brilliant the knockouts are, and kind of seeing all of those years of Impact to be represented in this moment. So just kudos to everyone that was involved in that segment. It was great to see Awesome Kong and Angelina Love and Gail Kim wrestle in this match. I completely agree. The segment was just awesome. And then to know that all of these women were going to collide in this dream match, and the dream match, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, live up to the hype, was absolutely just a chef's kiss. Kudos to Impact for making it clear that when they announced this anniversary show, that they were ready to bring it, and that they did. And just such a brilliant 2 nights. Everything was just well done, top to bottom. And I can't speak enough to how great this segment was. So kudos to all of the women involved. Let's go to the next moment, which was Tracy Brooks being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. I know many times that there can be, I don't want to say that outstage, but many times we can focus as wrestling fans on hearing the announcements of who's going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. But there are many wrestling Hall of Fames that honor some amazing men and women in the business. And I think that Impact did a great job at deciding which knockout was going to be inducted into this year's Hall of Fame. And Tracy Brooks was able to have that honor at Bound for Glory in October. And I just thought it was very apropos to have Tracy Brooks get that honor this year. And it was a really special moment for me in particular because I'm a big fan of the OG Knockouts division. It was a division that I absolutely loved during my teen years, and actually really helped me to still be interested in wrestling. Impact definitely helped to keep that that nostalgia for wrestling and that excitement for it. And Tracy Brooks was definitely a part of that for me. And Tracy played such an essential role in helping to get the Knockouts division started. Her and Gail Kim would stay on Jeff Jarrett about making a lane for women in the company and really giving them that opportunity to develop a division. And this persistence worked, and we see the fruits of that labor now. And it has been said by many that Tracy Brooks has always made sure to provide a welcoming atmosphere for any women that would come into the Knockouts locker room, and can see that that positive attitude remained, because usually fans still hear about that family-like atmosphere behind the scenes in Impact. And Tracy had the announcement of a Hall of Fame induction done by her husband, Frankie Kazarian, after their tag match during the 1000th episode of Impact. And Kazarian was able to see Tracy's journey in Impact Wrestling up close. So I'm sure that this was a very touching moment for him as well. Tracy was inducted by one of her best friends and former opponent at times, Gail Kim. So that was really, really cool that Gail came back out again to make sure that she inducted Tracy, just like she helped to induct Awesome Kong. Gail spoke of the times when they had awesome road trips and absolutely hated doing the bikini shoots, but they would still make it fun, and that overall sisterhood that they created during their time together in Impact. And an overjoyed Tracy Brooks comes out and thanks the amazing women that made up the Knockouts division during her run, and the women and men behind the scenes that made TNA such an awesome place to work. Tracy gets emotional when she was talking about her love for her husband and son, and still seems a bit in shock that she was getting this honor. And I think that is so sad, because Tracy is so deserving of this induction and really helped to shape what we think of the Knockouts division. She also helped to manage some of the best men in the business that I feel really helped to shape what we think of Impact, like Robert Roode, like Chris Sabin. So I think that she definitely deserves to feel like she was a main contributor to what people really think about as like the mainstays in Impact during those early years, those people that you think about that really had Impact written all over them. I definitely think that Tracy was a part of that. So she definitely deserved this. And congrats to Tracy Brooks. And I hope she knows that she's definitely earned that Hall of Fame ring. So just a great moment. This is a good question. Would I like to see the beautiful people in the Hall of Fame? I would love to see that. I'm going to say this because, just like I said, every time Impact has the moment to really showcase and appreciate and show that respect for the men and women that help to make Impact what it is, they always make sure that they don't drop the ball on that. And I think especially with this reception that the beautiful people had in their recent appearance during the 1000th episode celebrations, I think that that definitely might be on the mind of of Impact's crew behind the scenes that might be the next Knockouts division inductees in next year. So I definitely think it might be on their mind, because I think that they're probably going to think that not only the honor would be great, but it would be a really cool moment with the way that the beautiful people would accept their induction. Would it be just like a full-on heel a speech where they're really taunting the audience? Like, what would they actually do during that induction? So that would be really cool to see. I also be interested in who would induct them. So yeah, I think that that's a strong possibility. But just a great Hall of Fame in general. It was really cool to see Mike Tenay get inducted in that great tribute that he did to the late Don West. It was just a great Hall of Fame, and I was very happy to see that Tracy Brooks was a part of it. So let's go to the next moment. And yeah, to point out how great Tracy Brooks looked as well. Yeah, just a great night. So our next moment is going to WWE, where Kairi Sane returned to WWE. So leading into the weekend of Crown Jewel, there were some rumors that Kairi would return to WWE due to her unexpected departure from Stardom. And I'm not gonna lie, when these rumors started to float around, I was a bit upset, because when I heard the news of Kairi leaving Stardom, because of how much Kairi was accomplishing during her run in Stardom, I was a bit disappointed that she was leaving. However, Kairi did make some amazing moments in WWE and NXT, so I can understand why Kairi Sane thought that it would be a good move to return. Io Sky faced off against Bianca Belair during the Crown Jewel's latest event in November and shocked everyone when Kairi came through the crowd to lay into Bianca to help Io get the win and retain her title. No one was more shocked than Bayley, who is the leader of Damage Control. And for now, everything is okay, and Bayley remains in power. But who's to say how long that will last? And with the rest of the group deciding to add Kairi to the faction behind her back and Asuka, so we don't know what's going to happen, but seeing Kairi and Asuka back together has certainly been a treat. And she has really added something special to this faction. So kudos to WWE for bringing Kairi back in the right way and giving me personally that Kabuki Warriors reunion that I've really wanted for a while, because I really enjoyed that time when they were tagging. I think that Kairi and Asuka at that time really made something that initially I wasn't that happy about, because I loved their solo runs, but they really made something great out of tagging together, and it's something that was something that was on my bucket list when Kairi came back to WWE. So I'm happy to see that. And I just think that she really blends so well with the rest of Damage Control. So this was a good call. And it just continues to add to how powerful this faction is. And I'm really curious as to what Damage Control will be doing at the Royal Rumble and at WrestleMania. So we'll see. I still miss Kairi Sane, New Japan Stardom run, and I've been enjoying her work in WWE. That's exactly how I feel, because I feel like, just like I said, when it was first announced, the rumors started to spread that Kairi might be coming back to WWE, I was still on the high of seeing all of the great things that Kairi was doing in New Japan and Stardom. So I really didn't know how to feel about it, but immediately WWE made sure that if Kairi was coming back, that they were really going to showcase her in the best way possible. And she looks so freaking cool standing next to everyone in Damage Control, and has just had some phenomenal moments already in this short amount of time that she returned. So at least if I can't get her, in New Japan and Stardom, I'll take Kairi having this amazing run in WWE. And WWE is just handling business with a lot of people returning, let me just say. So let's go into this next moment, which is Timeless Toni Storm's Portrait of a Star segment. I would dare to say that Toni Storm has had the best character work in women's wrestling in 2023. Her commitment to this timeless Toni Storm, disheveled silver screen starlet, is unmatched and something that fans can't take their eyes off of. Her sit down interview with RJ City in particular, this hilariously infamous Toni Storm Portrait of a Star segment allowed us as viewers to somewhat get into the mind of Toni Storm. We think that with this interview, we're going to get answers to our questions concerning her behavior, but all we get is a starlet that's become more and more unhinged as the interview goes on. She talks about how the industry used to be, how it used to be about money. Now it's all about a girl that has a good sob story, that having good matches doesn't matter anymore, only that you bleed. And she declared that that isn't her. She's a star. And as the interview continues, we see that her makeup has become smudged and she seems to continue to get agitated as time goes on. RJ City tried to compliment her on the many years that she's been in the business. And this completely sets off Toni. And she starts to throw her shoes at RJ and grabs him by the collar. And RJ assures her that she isn't old. And in that moment, it's as if a light bulb went off for Toni. And she realizes that she isn't just a star, she is timeless. And we get this great close up of Toni that is iconic because of that retro camera angle that reminds us of that vintage starlet in cinema who would usually play an unhinged character as Toni repeats timeless over and over again and she spins on her hotel balcony. It was just so well produced. And actually one of my favorite segments of this year. Toni has really dived head first into this character and really has become this timeless Toni that I love so much. And she is now the AEW Women's Heavyweight Champion. So I'm pretty sure there is so much more to come. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing how far Toni Storm is going to go with this. She now has her own personal ring announcer. We see her really just diving deeper into this, and I know for all of the things, and we are justified, and all of the things that we can say definitely need to be improved in AEW, especially with the women's division. It just seems like Toni has constantly taken the amount of TV time, whether it be a short amount of time or not, and really made some awesome moments this year with the time that she has gotten. And I think that one thing that I really applaud is that, especially when you see a lot of people mostly focusing on how many highlight reels they can get with their moves, for Toni to really sit down and develop such a well thought out character, especially when that's one of the biggest things that goes into why people love pro wrestling. I truly applaud her for it, and I'm just over the moon with how much people have taken to this character. And definitely someone like me who kind of has a love for some of those 40s and 50s B movies that you would see when you have these unhinged characters, especially the feminine deranged characters like Toni Storm. This is just a treat for me, and I can't wait to see what else Toni does with this character. Let's move on to the next moment. And that is the debut of Trinity in Impact Wrestling. I feel like just like everyone was on the edge of their seats to see where Mercedes Moné would go outside of WWE, I was also equally excited to see where Trinity would land in the wrestling world. And Trinity chose to join the Knockouts division, and I couldn't be happier. Some people were skeptical and even felt that it was a step down. However, I felt that this move to one of the best women's divisions in the world showed that Trinity really wanted to tangle with some of the best women's wrestlers and trust a division that has been stable and jam-packed since 2007. And she has faced off against Mickie James, Deonna Purrazzo, Savannah Evans, Kylie King, Giselle Shaw, Sunny Kiss, just to name a few. And her title run has been filled with 5-star matches that has shown off Trinity's range in the ring and how much of an in-ring general she is. And this was the best choice for Trinity, in my opinion, and I really look forward to seeing what's to come for the woman with the glow in 2024. I really hope that there is more respect for this, to me, this brilliant move that Trinity has made to really hone in with the Knockouts division, because I personally think it was the best move for her to make. I've enjoyed Trinity work at Impact Wrestling, and I just love seeing this. You can see the sheer excitement that Trinity has with being with this division. It's very palpable. You can see it on her that she feels that she can show off what Trinity is in her, what everything that's been in her mind, possibly for the past few years, is definitely showing in these matches with the ranges of styles that she has on display, and how even, and I love how Impact did this, because I thought it was done with a lot of taste. Because even as I'm showing you right now, where we saw there's posters of the debut of Trinity with a live mic, and sometimes that can make you feel initially that means that when this person debuts, they're just going to rag on the company that they were in before. And I love that Trinity came out and just handled her debut with class. She was just focusing on where she was then, and she already wanted to get into it and be toe-to-toe with women like Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace on the first night that she stepped foot in Impact, and really made it clear, my focus is just simply being here. I'm not here to try to defame the place that I was in before. My focus is just on being Impact. And I love the very classy and respectful way that Trinity came off in her debut. But of course, there's no way to expect anything less with the way that Trinity has always carried herself. I'd like to see Mayu Iwatani versus Trinity for the IWGP Women's Championship. I would love to see that as well. We know how well New Japan and Impact's relationship is, so we can never say never. It's a very strong possibility that that can be a match that we can see soon. And with seeing Trinity's enthusiasm for taking on any and all comers for her title, or even for trying to get a new title, it seems like there is a very hungry spirit that Trinity has for really having some great matches that really test her ability in the ring and allows her to fight women from all over the world. So I would say, keep your fingers crossed for that. We might see that soon. Let's move on to the next segment. We have Willow Nightingale winning the Owen Hart Women's Tournament. And this Owen Hart Women's Tournament was the inaugural Owen Hart's Women's Tournament. Then in the Women's Tournament, we're going to focus on the Women's Tournament. Was a much anticipated tournament and really highlighted the AEW Women's Division and the wealth of talent that it has in it. Coming into this tournament, Willow Nightingale was a fan favorite and someone that we really wanted to see accomplish a lot. She had phenomenal matches with Red Velvet and Athena, and she was able to grab the win ultimately for the tournament against Ruby Riott to win the tournament. To see Willow crowned by Martha Hart in Calgary, Alberta, Canada was surreal. And as a huge Owen Hart fan, this was an unforgettable moment for me in wrestling, because I just love the great care that Owen Hart legacy has been in with this partnership with AEW. So I hope to see that continue. I believe that this would have been a tournament that Owen Hart would have loved to have his name attached to. And he definitely would have loved the spirit and talent of someone like Willow. This win helped to declare that Willow is a top tier champion, material and worthy competitor for the women's roster, and a huge part of why the women's roster has so much potential. And obviously, we're hoping for better for this women's division. But I feel like with something like this win, it could push. And now we know this was in the summertime, so a lot has happened since then. But I'm hoping that Willow can continue to be put in these type of situations where she could potentially hold either the AEW Women's TBS title or the AEW Women's title in the future, because Willow is so deserving of this. Like, she has shown time and time again how amazing she is. So I'm hoping that those opportunities flow in 2024 for Willow. Let's move on to the next segment, which is, I think, just like a cute moment that we're looking forward to in 2024, which is Bianca Belair and Montez Ford's announcement of their reality show. And I believe that some wrestling fans have kind of felt a void that needed to be filled to see like the everyday lives of their favorite wrestlers, especially wrestling couples, which has become a very popular thing for people to want to see in the reality TV sphere. So it was announced not too long ago that one of our favorite wrestling couples, Bianca and Montez, would have a reality show, Love and WWE, Bianca and Montez. And all of us were beaming with joy over what this reality show could entail. One thing that we know for sure is that if these two together are as comical and entertaining on the WWE screen, then they will definitely be entertaining for an audience that might not know anything about them in WWE, but might just feel like they're an infectious a couple that really captures an audience. So I definitely think that this reality show is going to do well, and it was a big announcement for this year. And we've seen a lot of things happen this year that I'm pretty sure is going to be captured in the reality series, like Bianca really stepping out to get into bodybuilding over this year. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be captured. We see this push and shift in Montez's character over the past few months, with him aligning with Bobby Lashley. So we'll see if all of those things are going to be featured. Obviously, this is coming off of the success of The Miz and Maurice's show. So I think it's going to hold up to that standard of an entertaining reality show that allows this couple and WWE to continue to get eyes on their product from an audience that wouldn't usually tune into wrestling. So kudos to both Bianca and Montez for having this great announcement about them stepping into the reality show world. So let's move on to the next moment. This moment, Billie Starkz standing up for herself and actually deciding that she wasn't going to take any more of Athena's crap. So Billie Starkz turning on Athena was something that was planned brilliantly. And this long-term storyline, in my opinion, is one of the prime examples of why storytelling is so important in wrestling. For months now, Billie Starkz has taken all of the critiques, berating, and belittlement that Athena has thrown her way. She has been a minion in training and followed Athena to ringside to learn firsthand from the champ. She even returned to Athena after being embarrassed, so much so that she cried backstage. But the last straw was when Athena gave her bestie Lexi the honor of being deemed valedictorian for Athena's minion training graduation. Billie had an impressive win record over the past few months, and none of that was recognized by Athena. So Billie snapped and attacked Athena after the graduation. This moment, when Billie stood up for herself was such a highlight in this amazing build-up. It showed that Billie had a backbone and wouldn't be pushed around anymore. It showed that there was a voice in Billie's head that was telling her that she could go one-on-one with her former mentor. And boy, did they at Final Battle this past Friday. Both women main evented the pay-per-view and tore the house down. This feud, I believe, is far from over. I truly can't wait to see what happens next between these two. Billie did not win the match against Athena, but you can certainly see that newfound respect, possibly, that she gained from the champ after such a brutal match. And it all stemmed from Athena actually standing up for herself. I agree. This storyline has to be one of my favorite storylines of the year, and honestly, I feel helped to really keep eyes on Ring of Honor, and is really, I think, possibly behind the scenes making Tony Khan feel like he has to step up the game for how women are shown on AEW, because Athena is holding down that division with the other amazing women in Ring of Honor, but showing that this should be the benchmark for the champ. And these are the type of matches and storylines that should be for the women's champ week in and week out. So this definitely set the bar, and I think is going to have the AEW women's division on their toes to hold up to what Athena has been doing with this division for sure. So let's go into the next moment. We have Trish Adora's title reign coming to an end. Her Pan-African World Diaspora Championship coming to an end this year. And this moment is a bittersweet moment in women's wrestling this year, and certainly newsworthy because Trish Adora's title reign deserves to be recognized. Shug D ended her title reign on October 15th. Her 1,388 day reign was talked about all over the world, and even landed her an article in Washington Post in 2021. PWI quickly recognized the Pan-African World Championship, World Diaspora Championship, as a legit and prominent title because it was on Trish Adora's waist. Every match that she had defending that title was must-see, and anyone, male or female, could challenge her, which I feel helped to continue to legitimize intergender wrestling over the past few years. Her title reign not only made me feel as a wrestling fan that I was happy to see that type of work that was being put in Ring of Honor in 2021, but as an African-American fan and Pan-Africanist, I loved seeing that representation on my screen. And Trish Adora may no longer hold the Pan-African World Diaspora Championship, but her legacy will always surround that title. So this was definitely a moment that I had to make sure that I highlighted, because this was a damn good reign. Trish, I'm gonna miss you holding that title, but you did hold it well. And I know that there are going to be some awesome moments for Trish Adora in 2024, but I'm going to need Ring of Honor and AEW to stop putting her in squash matches and really show her off well, because she's definitely getting that type of love in Japan, as she has gone on many different tours throughout this year. But I'm going to need to see that on Ring of Honor and AEW, just a critique. Trish Adora is great. She would be a great opponent for Julia for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. I completely agree, and I love how this was already hinted at before this year came to a close, and I am absolutely going to love when these women collide. So I definitely agree. There are some awesome things in store for Trish Adora, and I would completely geek out if Trish wins that New Japan Strong Women's title. Totally agree. Let's go into our next moment. Next moment is the release of Medusa's autobiography. I I was very hyped for this. The woman who would be king, the Medusa story. I was very hyped for this because for the past few years, as Medusa has been, especially after her Hall of Fame induction a few years back, Medusa has been saying that she was going to come out with an autobiography. So I've been on pins and needles since then to see what exactly was going to be in this autobiography, and really wanting to get insight into what Medusa felt like were pivotal moments in her career, things that possibly were hardships that she had to get over. I was just excited to hear the whole bit. And with the onslaught of women's roles changing and evolving for the better in wrestling today, it is a privilege to hear stories about women who had to eat crap and take what they could and make gold out of it. Usually involving them being part of small segments in wrestling shows in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and trying to make such an impact like Medusa did. And I love digging into women's wrestling and finding out what the women were thinking in WWE, WCW, and ECW when they had these epic, iconic moments. So for Medusa to sit down and write a book that takes us into her career and monumental moments in her runs in both wrestling and in monster truck racing, this was freaking amazing. And, you know, not to be nosy, but I know that we're all wondering what Medusa was thinking behind the scenes, working in such a testosterone-filled macho era like the 90s, and coming out with all of her faculties after that. I was just really happy that that she released this on her own terms, independently releasing this book so that she can make sure that everything that she wanted to tell and everything that she wanted fans to think about when it comes to her career is in this book. This book really provides a window into Medusa's career and should be on everyone's Christmas wish list if you haven't read it already. Women's wrestling's legends should be supported for helping to get their history out there for us fans to cherish and celebrate. So I really applaud Medusa for going on with making sure that this autobiography could get out there. I really want to do a deep dive episode talking about this as someone that is a huge Medusa fan and is really digging into this book now. We have a brilliant foreword in the book by Paul Heyman. So if you haven't checked this out, do yourself a favor and go to a place like Amazon and just click on it and get this book. It is a great read. So definitely, to me, one of the highlights of this year for women's wrestling is having some great autobiographies come out, because many times a lot of stories from legends, female legends in the business, kind of gets put to the back seat. So it's really good to see that Medusa wanted to make sure that her story was cemented in the wrestling world. Okay, the next moment that I have on the list is a heartwarming one, is Bianca Belair dancing with the Divas of Compton dance team. Bianca Belair has now been known to have a grand entrance at WrestleMania for a few years now. So this year, all of us were curious as to what we would see at WrestleMania 39. And after representing for the HBCUs last year, Bianca decided to have an African-American dance team, the Divas of Compton, accompany her as she made her way to the ring. And the girls really showed up and showed out and captivated the live audience, all truly looking like little divas and mimicking the look of Bianca with the trademark ponytail and bow. But particularly one of the youngest girls on the dance team, Amina. She was vibrant and full of life, and she had her moment to be right next to Bianca as they were dancing together. And it was such a cute moment as we were watching it in real time. But what we didn't know as an audience, but we found out later during the press conference with Triple H, was that she lost her mother hours before WrestleMania, and really was a bit distraught naturally behind the scenes before this moment. And her dance team and Bianca were really there for her. And I cannot fathom putting on such a beautiful performance like this after going through something like that, you losing someone so vital like that to your life. So that's why I think this performance is even more special to me personally. And this entrance was a highlight for me, and I will remember going into the next WrestleMania because, you know, now Bianca has to continue to step it up because she keeps outdoing herself every year. And it was awesome to know also that Bianca had recently visited the dance team again to see how they were doing and to make it clear to them that she was going to consistently follow up with them. So that was really sweet to see WWE capture that moment and that reunion. And these young girls, the Divas of Compton, have been able to perform on America's Got Talent and for the NFL. So I'm happy to see that they're continuing to have success, and they were able to really capture one of their successes on the WWE WrestleMania platform. So that was just awesome and just a heartwarming moment throughout this year. So the last moment on my list, trust me, I know there are so many other moments to cover, but you know, there's so much time in the world. But the last moment that I really wanted to cover, because it was something that I was truly excited about, was the Skeban Wrestling debuting in NYC. This was a great moment for this year, in my opinion, because it's showcasing that Joshi Wrestling will be making a big splash in the States over the next few years. With US-based Japanese shows like this, fans like me have the honor of seeing these fantastic wrestlers in person, which was obviously not always the case. This first show from Skeban was in NYC and had a very vintage 70s punk underground CBGB look to it that I just loved. The promotion is paying homage to the girl gangs of the 60s and 70s, and it showcased that this roster can feature women that can be scary, comical, offbeat, and countercultural. And there's a huge element of anime and manga to it that I think is really cool and unique. And their debut show had a sold-out crowd that was just on fire. This wrestling league consists of different factions, and the different factions are the Cherry Bomb Girls, the Vandals, Dangerous Liaisons, and the Harajuku Stars. And they have wrestlers like Ataku-chan, Supersonic, Atomic Banshee, Queen of Hearts, and Lady Antoinette. And one of my favorite names, Crush You. One of my favorite, or two of my favorite matches from this NYC debut event was between Stray Cat and Midnight Player. And initially, I thought this was just going to be one of the comedic matches that I could still enjoy, but it actually was very technical and hard-hitting, so one that I definitely recommend, as this debut event is available in full on YouTube, so you should definitely check it out. And my second favorite match of the night was the tag match between Babyface and Mayu Mashi and Lady Antoinette and Commander Nakajami. This Deadly Liaison faction in particular is one of my favorites, and I definitely think that they're going to be a force to reckon with. All of those women on that team are just ruthless, and I absolutely love it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that particular faction is going to do in 2024. And during the debut event, we had the legendary Joshi wrestler and Hall of Famer Bull Nakano be announced as the commissioner of Skeban. And I was just so excited for this because you had Nakano come out and the crowd was just insane for this because it was such a surprise. And she comes out to rev up the crowd and present one of the sickest looking championship belts I've ever seen. It looks like it is hand painted and it is just absolutely stunning. So hands down, top to bottom, this was a great debut event. The second show for Skeban happened on December 6th in Miami, and I really think there are promising things for this promotion. in 2024. I love just the overall marketing for this promotion. As I stated, there are so many US fans of Joshi Wrestling, but obviously sometimes it would be either impossible or just like a one-time thing to be able to travel to Japan, to be able to see a lot of these shows. So to be able to see this promotion actually be US based, but have some wrestlers that we really admire from Japan already and have already made a name for themselves is just perfect. And something that I definitely love, and I will definitely be going to one of the shows as they announce their calendar year coming up. And just like I said, if you are interested and you have not seen Skaban's first show, please go to YouTube on their YouTube channel and check out the show, the full-on show. The commentary was absolutely amazing. The lighting, the costumes, the entrances were all just 5-star across the board. So check that out. And that will do it for some of the best moments of this year. I really enjoyed coming up with this list. It was really fun to go back and look at how many things happened in this year. And then also remember that like some things happened in 2022 and I was just like putting things together that didn't actually go with this year, because as much things happened, it was still everything also was pretty short in this year. Just feels like everything was just happening back to back. So it was nice to actually put things in chronological order and remember, okay, this is how this jam-packed year actually went. I am always loving to see comments on what anyone else thought were great moments for women in 2023. So you can definitely leave those comments if you have moments that you felt weren't mentioned but were worthy to be mentioned in this conversation. I think that there are going to be some amazing moments happening in 2024 for women in wrestling in every promotion you could possibly think of. And I have to agree with this moment, and that's why I have, if you haven't seen it, I did mention in full detail how excited I actually was to see Kenzie Page's match with Camille to win the NWA Women's World Championship. And that's why, because there were so many great moments that happened this year, I knew that I had to separate some of the best matches for women in 2023 and some of the best moments that may not have just been in ring. It could have been something that was announced or a particular segment that was really important to this year for women's wrestling. So I definitely did highlight Kenzie Page winning the NWA Women's World Championship, and she has been doing a hell of a job with that title so far. So if you have not seen the best women's matches, a deep dive episode that I did, please check it out, because I want you to feel like I covered almost everything that has happened that has been awesome for women's wrestling this year. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. I feel like now we can go into 2024 as we've covered, once again, the best matches of 2024 for women in wrestling and the best moments. So I truly hope you enjoyed these 2 recent deep dive episodes. We've really tried to encapsulate some of the best things that have happened in women's wrestling for this year. I'm excited for 2024 with the new things that I want to talk about on Deep Dive that really will be taking on many topics from many different aspects of women's wrestling. So I definitely hope that you come back as this new year comes into it and continue to enjoy Deep Dive. I hope that if there are moments that you have not checked out that I mentioned today, that you go do that and enjoy some more women's wrestling. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.